We have got some beautiful Easter lilies out here today. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you my Easter lilies that they are in full bloom. I'll also go over 3 ways that you can ensure you have an abundance of them year after year in your spring garden. Also, we'll go over some of the other plants that are blooming in my garden at this time. Depending on when you're watching this, this is actually late May going into June. And if you have never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to my home and garden channel. So Easter lilies are a beautiful addition to your spring garden, late spring that is. They are so gorgeous and I just absolutely love them. Not to be confused though with Asiatic lilies. They're in the same family. However, if you look at these, of course, they have brighter colors. The leaves are closer together and the petals, they point upward instead of sideways like a trumpet as the Easter lilies do. Bear in mind also that, for Easter, we like to have these beautiful lilies. We buy them or they're gifted to us. They come in these beautiful containers. They're typically blooming, in the early part of April for the most part. But these are forced because they're given hormones to come early so that way we can have them for the Easter season. And of course, you can understand why. They make a perfect match to the whole, resurrection story and all of that. Now, in terms of knowing how to plant those out in your garden, which is probably the best way to get them, I'll link this video and you'll look at it, you'll see it at the end, and it'll go over exactly how to plant them and all the various things involved. But let's go ahead and take a look, just a wrap around. And the first thing to bear in mind is location. You want to make sure that wherever you're planting them that they have 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, but they do need to have some protection at least from the afternoon sun. So not just by themselves sitting in the sun all day. Try to avoid that kind of setup. And just to say that, the second thing is you want to make sure that the leaves turn yellow or at least a very pale shade of green, because they need to build up food, from photosynthesis. And if you're concerned about how they look, you can plant other flowers nearby. These are some of my cone flowers here. They're kind of fading out a little bit too because it's pretty late in the season. But you would just basically plant those to cover up a little bit if you don't want the yellowness to show. And you could just go in with a clean pair of trimmers and just cut them back. And you don't have to cut it all the way down at once, because sometimes I'll do it in parts. I'll go down a little bit and then I'll go back and cut another part off a few weeks after, just depending on how they're looking. But yes, you have to go in and kind of like trim them off if you can stand to see them going until they get brown in the fall. So definitely bear that in mind. And when you are using your pruners, which I'll link those in the description box for you, always want to make sure that you get them really nice and clean by using perhaps some rubbing alcohol to just clean them up so they don't spread disease from one plant to the other. And then they're going to reward you with multiplication. You're going to see more and more. When I started off over here, I had maybe like about 2 of them. And then over the years, I'd see them coming up more and more based on the patterns that I followed or the behaviors that I followed. And then I divided them. Sometimes I put them in other areas. You can see I have like them in different sections of my garden. So they will reward you if you take good care of them. Over time, you'll be so satisfied with the results that you get. The third thing to bear in mind is that they need to be mulched. Some plants don't, these ones do. And especially when you're coming on to the late spring and summertime and it gets really hot out there, you want to pack mulch around them. And you have tons and tons of mulch that you can buy, at your garden center. We have different types of red mulch, a brown one. You may get pine bark mulch, you may get mini pine nuggets, cypress mulch. There's so many different types that you could choose from depending on what your style is. But the main thing is to put them around the plant, in your flower beds, or if you can grow them in containers too, that's perfectly fine. If it's large enough, it'll be perfect. And just back them off just maybe an inch or 2 from the main stem, and they will do perfectly fine. So they'll love you for that. And of course, it also keeps the weeds back and it keeps them nice and warm in the winter time. And they they don't want to have wet feet. They don't want to be sitting in water, because most plants do not like that because it causes them to have root rot. In this case, it would be bulb rot because they do grow from bulbs. And so, you just want to make sure that they have a fair amount of moisture by watering them, every now and then in the summertime, especially. But again, we don't want them to be in an area where you may have like a drain running down on them and they're wet all the time. That's definitely a no-no. And this was them right here after the rain. And don't they look so refreshed? I tell you, I just love them. You can see all the ants in there. That's one of their main pollinators that the ants go in and crawl around. But this plant mostly, multiplies itself by the growths coming up, and then you divide them out. But they can stay for seeds, and you can see that in my video that I'm going to link at the end that tells you all about the Easter lilies. But now let's take a look at a little tour of my front flower bed here and the rest of the garden around the house. Over here I have some vinca, the pink ones you're seeing right there by themselves in that cute little container that I had from the fall. And this is a major container garden that I have right here. It's a lot bigger than it actually looks in this video. I have some Calibraca, the pink ones at the front, marigolds, the fillers in the middle, and more vinca at the back. That's a thriller plant. Here I have some also my salvia, the purple ones. And you can see the lilies right there. Behind them I have some Asiatic lilies. Those already bloomed, so they're gone down, and the roses also have faded. They're gonna have to come back up again. And there is more lilies over here. You can just see them because, like I said, it started off with just one, and I divided them over time, and they just multiplied, and they really have been such a blessing. I just love seeing them. You can see the pollen, on the stamen and all of that. Behind them, we have the coneflower, which helps to cast a little bit of a shade, at certain parts of the day. And this is what they looked like last year, and also the same thing for them too. I've done videos on these before as well too. They also multiply over time, so you'll have more and more of them. So this is how they're looking from this area right here. And to the left over here, I have my Dutch iris. Those have already bloomed already. Now they're forming seed heads, which I may trim them off, or I may just leave them. We have more coming around to this side right here. We have our boxwood over it, also giving a little bit of shade from the direct sun, all day. And just look at them, guys. Aren't they beautiful? I just absolutely love them. And you can let me know if you have Easter lilies in your garden, if you ever tried to plant them, or if you'll do so, in the near future. I highly encourage it. So moving a little further around to this side now, over here now we have some gladiolas. And these are just about to start blooming. And that's one thing I try to do. I try to have something blooming in my garden at all times. Even in the winter, I have pansies out there, and those will be coming up in the cold weather. These are my peonies that I planted. We went on a family emergency trip, and I didn't get to water them, so I hope they'll make it. I don't know. We will see. If you're watching along, you see that I did a video planting those. And aren't these hydrangeas just absolutely gorgeous? I love them. And they vary in color a little bit sometimes for some years. These are more of a light blue this year, with a little bit of white in it. Some years are like a solid blue color, and some years, they just look just like this here. Those are my iris at the back, and they've finished blooming, so they're basically building up food so we can have more blooms for next year. And these are always perfectly timed for Father's Day. I just love that. And just to say that, it really pleases me so much, when you hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell twice, so that we can become a part of the family, and you can see all of my videos as they come out. And it also helps my channel to grow, so I certainly appreciate that. On to the next side we have, and these glads are actually taller. These actually grow to like about 5 feet sometimes, maybe even a little bit, 5 feet and change when they're fully blooming out. So I'll most likely have an upcoming video about gladiolas. That one behind it hasn't bloomed yet, and the ones further back that are lying down, those are my daffodils that are waiting to kind of fade out. Over here we have some more iris plants. These are the two-tone ones, and those have bloomed already. Over here I have my nandina, and as you can see, guys, they are blooming out right now, and there are so many bees on this plant. And I just love to have the pollinators come in, but please be careful when you have the bees coming. You don't want to get bitten, because one of them bit me the other day. But it was okay, I took care of it. But this is just so beautiful, and in the winter time, this is how it looks. It adds a lot of interest by way of the berries, but not just the berries alone. The leaves also turn a beautiful shade of red, and it is so perfect for that whole Christmas feel at that time of the year. So I just absolutely love nandina, and it makes a great hedging plant. It doesn't go very high, but it is really, really good for your garden. So I would say if you're considering that, then definitely go for it. If you want me to do a future video on it, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to go into a little bit more detail about this plant. But I just think it is so gorgeous. And then the bees are just going at it, and I love that. So I'd love to see your comments, guys. If you prefer to have all of your plants bloom at one time, or you like to have different plants coming at different times, just to say what your preference is, and if you'd consider something like this. So on to the next thing now, which will be these liriope. They're at the walkway going up to my spring porch, and they're fluffing out so much more. These bloom like later, I'd say maybe like end of July. Some years they do, some years they don't. And it was a part of my spring porch refresh, which you guys, responded to so well. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and check that video out. And just to say that, I just love flowers. I'm sure you could tell, but I also love fruits and veggies too. I do videos on those. But, I encourage you, especially if you're a beginner gardener, just keep going at it. Over time, the plants will multiply. There are just some basic rules that you have to follow. And once you do those, you'll be amazed at the results that you get. Sometimes, need a little mood lifter, and this is the perfect solution right here. They say that flowers definitely help your whole mental state. Even if they say even if you use, fake flowers sometimes, or faux flowers as we call them, it still also helps to lift your mood, and it's better for your whole mental state. So I highly recommend gardening to anyone. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you'll come along with me and share with your friends if you think they will like it. I hope you have a great spring season, a great planting season, happy summer as well. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care and happy gardening.